Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, let me know what you think. Now let's get into today's video. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing the Line. And we've got a news story here that's made me pretty bloody happy, I'll let you know that. We were right all along. Not that we needed vindication, but vindicated yet again that the lab leak was the most likely excuse, most likely origin of COVID-19. We've been saying it for 3 years now. I don't know why there was ever any doubt on this, but we've been vindicated now. The Energy Department has come out in the US and said that is the most likely origin for COVID-19. I mean, it's like that skit on late night TV, whatever it was in the US, where he's talking about if there was an outbreak of chocolatey goodness in Hershey's, Pennsylvania, maybe we should be looking at the Hershey's chocolate factory. You know, we know where it came from. It wasn't from a pangolin. It wasn't from a bat. It wasn't from there. It was from the Wuhan virology lab that deals in COVID and coronaviruses. It was from there, and now it sounds weird coming from the Energy Department, but apparently they're the authority on releasing stuff like this in the US. You think it'd come from somewhere like the WHO or the CDC, but they're probably still paid off by China. But that'd be a conspiracy theory, wouldn't it? But we've been proven right yet again, so I don't know whether they should be called conspiracy theories or just future predictions now. But we'll take a look at this, and this story here is from the Wall Street Journal, so it's even better if they're saying it as well, that we know that we're correct, because even if the leftist propaganda media is saying the same thing, then they're finally coming around to, I don't know, let us know the truth on something for once. But we'll take a quick look at this story here from the Wall Street Journal. Lab leak is the most likely origin of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Energy Department now says. Washington, the U.S. Energy Department concluded that the COVID pandemic most likely arose from a laboratory leak, according to the classified intelligence report recently provided to the White House and key members of Congress. The shift of the Energy Department, which was previously undecided on how the virus emerged, is noted in an update in 2021, a document of the Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines' office. The news report highlights how different parts of the intelligence community have arrived at desperate judgments about the pandemic's origin. The Energy Department now joins the Federal Bureau of Investigations in saying the virus likely spread via a mishap at a Chinese laboratory. Four other agencies, along with the National Intelligence Panel, still judge that it was likely the result of a natural transmission, and two are undecided. The Energy Department's conclusion is a result of new intelligence, and the significant because the agency has considerable scientific expertise and the oversees a network of US national laboratories, some of which conduct advanced biological research. The Energy Department made its judgment with low confidence, according to the people who have read the classified report. The FBI previously came to the conclusion that the pandemic was likely a result of lab leak in 2021, with moderate confidence, and still holds this view. So if the Energy Department, who are the people to go to over labs and lab leaks and things like that, are the ones saying that this has come out of the lab in Wuhan and that was an accidental leak, and the FBI has come out and said that it was an accidental leak from the lab in Wuhan, and the President of the United States at the time, Donald Trump, come out and said that he's seen evidence saying that it came from the lab in Wuhan, and that one of the first people diagnosed with COVID was the wife of someone who worked at the Wuhan lab. I'm just going to say, it might sound crazy to someone, but I guarantee you, like, the mass amount of evidence and crap that has been compiled, it's come out of the lab in Wuhan. So the lab that was making coronaviruses may have leaked a coronavirus. I'm not shocked, but some people seemingly are. Who knows why they've suddenly come out and said that this is the most likely point of origin for this. Maybe that they're trying to demonize China, which they deserve it anyway, but demonize China so that if this upcoming war with Russia goes fully World War III, fully nuclear, and China gets involved as well, then they've got the backing of the rest of the world against China as well, because they're going to have a bone to pick with them over releasing COVID on everyone, which I don't blame them. I mean, if they release COVID, whether by accident or on purpose, would obviously be even worse. But if it was even by accident, you're going to have a bit of a bone to pick with them. I mean, the US has got its part to play in this as well, with Anthony Fauci giving funding to this actual lab that created the coronavirus. Him giving them money. Anthony Fauci, the guy who was the world leader basically in the fight against COVID-19, and he's the one who probably instigated it. It's a little too on the nose, and I don't get how people keep thinking it's a conspiracy theory at this point. I mean, where are you going to look to if anywhere other than the Wuhan lab of virology? Well, we'll keep reading the story here from the Washington Journal. The Wall Street Journal. The FBI employs a cadre of microbiologists, immunologists, and other scientists, and is supported by the National Bioforensic Analysis Center, which was established at Fort Detrick, MD, in 2004 to analyze anthrax and other possible biological threats. The US officials declined to give details on the fresh intelligence and analysis that led the Energy Department to change its position. They added that while the Energy Department and the FBI say it's each say an unintended lab leak is most likely, they arrive at those conclusions for different reasons. The updated document underscores how intelligence officials are still putting together the pieces of how COVID-19 emerged. More than 1 million Americans have died in the pandemic and begun more than 3 years ago. The National Intelligence Council conducts a long-term strategic analysis for 4 agencies, which officials decline to identify, still assess with low confidence that the virus came through a natural transmission from an infected animal, according to the updated report. The CIA and other agencies that the officials wouldn't name. Undecided between the lab leak and natural transmission theories, the people who have read the classified report said, despite the agency's differing analysis, the update reaffirmed the existing consensus between that of the COVID-19 wasn't the result of the Chinese biological weapon program, the people who have read the classified report said. See, it doesn't have to be a biological weapon program for them to fuck up and release a obviously deadly strain of whatever on the public. I mean, all they had to do was put a pinprick in one of their gloves, maybe take that home to their wife, which died from COVID or COVID-related illness, at the very start of the pandemic. That happened, and it got out. Obviously, it got out from the Wuhan lab. It's not. How do people even think it's anything else? There's a breakout of a coronavirus less than a kilometre from a coronavirus lab. Where did it come from? I wonder. A senior US intelligence official confirmed the intelligence community had conducted an update whose existence hadn't previously been reported. The official added that this was done in the light of new intelligence, further study of the academic literature, and consultation with experts outside the government. This update, which is less than 5 pages, wasn't requested by Congress, but lawmakers, particularly House, the Senate Republicans, are pursuing their own investigations into the origins of the pandemic, and they're pressing the Biden administration and the intelligence community for more information. Did see a video today of a reporter asking Biden to comment on the Energy Department, stating that it came from the Wuhan lab. He threw his hands up in the air and walked away. So he's obviously briefed on it, and he obviously doesn't want to say anything about it until China steps out of line and they need to put it back in line, and then they threaten them. That is basically what they're going to be using this as. They've held it back, and so that they don't upset China while they need China. And now they're going to be using it against them when World War III kicks off and China goes to invade Taiwan. So this will kick up dissent and hatred towards China and Chinese people, unfortunately. That's what they're going to be using it as. We all know it came from a lab in Wuhan. We all know that. And if you don't think that it came from the lab, I don't know where you've been for the last 3 years. And it's too coincidental for anything other than that. These are just my gut feelings on the matter. But, I mean, how obvious do you want it to be? Officials didn't say it was an underclassified version of the update would be issued. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan declined to confirm or deny the journal's reporting on the appearance on Sunday on CNN. He said President Biden had repeatedly directed every part of the intelligence agency to invest in trying to discern as much as possible about the origins of the pandemic. President Biden specifically requested that the national labs, which are part of the Energy Department, to be brought into the assessment because he wanted to put every tool at use to be able to figure out what happened here, Mr. Sullivan said. These are the variety of views in the intelligence community, Mr. Sullivan added. A number of them have said that they do not have enough information. Asked about the Energy Department's assessment, Senator Dan Sullivan said Sunday on the NBC that Congress needed to hold an extensive hearings concerning the origins of the pandemic, adding that China had sought to intimidate other countries from questioning whether the virus emerged naturally. This is a country that has no problem coming out and lying to the world, he said. That's completely true. When the Australian government, I think it was a court case that was filed against China or something like that, come out and did that, they threatened us with war. They basically said that China does not have. China can just walk into Australia anytime they want, and Australia doesn't have a hope in hell defending against them. And not only that, they hit us economically. They stopped importing wine. They stopped importing beef. They stopped importing a lot of things from us, which I don't care. I don't care if we don't sell you anything in China because you're the ones that need it. We don't need to sell it to you. I'd rather be able to come here and spend every dollar and send it to an Australian farmer than spend twice as much and send it to you and an Australian farm. I don't want to be splitting the profits. I'd rather be sending my money straight to the locals, straight to Australian citizens. And with the Chinese having police departments in Australia that are well known to Australian Federal Police and the government, and us not shutting them down or doing anything about them, you can see that in a previous video. How dare they sit there and pretend that we're all too stupid to realise where this came from? I mean, you fucked up. You let a virus get out that killed millions of people around the world, and that wasn't even the worst of it. Like, the deaths were tragic and everything. But the worst parts of this entire thing were what the government did to us and what the government has been doing to us over the last 3 years. That is the worst thing that's happened in this whole COVID pandemic. This whole thing, the worst part of it has been the reaction. It's the same with the virus. The worst part isn't what the virus does to you, it's how your body reacts. It builds up mucus and it attacks it and tries to defend against it, and it ends up killing you and drowning you in your own fluids, basically. It's appalling that our government hasn't just come out and said, or the American government as well, hasn't come out and said, we know it came from the Wuhan lab, because where the hell else would it have come from? But that would mean they would have to admit some sort of liability. They would have to admit some sort of dealings with it, because they were the ones giving that specific lab itself funding. The Americans gave them funding. It wasn't even just them. It was actually Anthony Fauci himself who gave that very particular lab in Wuhan funding to conduct these tests, to create these coronaviruses, to create these viruses, which they then, wittingly or unwittingly, released on the earth. It's appalling that we're all being treated like children, that we don't know any better. How many times can you be told, you smell smoke, you can see flames, and they're just telling you there's no fire. You're just racist. Donald Trump's a racist. There's no fire. What are you talking about? Where there's smoke, there's fire. We know where it came from. So where will this go? We don't know, but I reckon they're going to be using it as a bludgeon to hit China over the head with, and basically turn the whole world against them when World War III, or if World War III kicks off with Russia, because we know who Russia will be getting backed up by. It'll be China. And if China steps foot into Taiwan, it will be World War III. And honestly, I don't know whether it's going to happen. The Simpsons haven't predicted it yet, so we'll see where that goes. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.